Okay, so let's take a look at how you can set up Redis server using Microsoft's Azure VM. So what we can do, first thing we can either create a resource and go to virtual machine, or we can directly go to all services. Then here we will find the compute category within which virtual machine is listed. So I'm showing you this whole process so that you can find out how to go to these certain places. Now here we will start by creating Azure virtual machine, and this will show up a page where you can see that you will have to think of adding few details like free trial is selected. Then we have resource group to choose. Let's give it a name as Redis developer virtual machine. Then choose East US. Now let's pick security type to standard, no need for redundancy. Pick the image. For that I will use DevNami stack of Redis because it is free and we can deploy it for test purpose. So considering my current instance is test, I will use that. Now let's type in DevNami in marketplace and it will show up, right? So here we have to purposefully look for. Now let's take a look at Redis option. As you can see, we have like 6 pages to browse through, so let me narrow it down with selection of database, right? So here let's look at Redis. So if it's there, okay, so the last one is Redis. I will select this and it is 64-bit image, and it will change the region as well based on the available image. It will shift me to Asia Pacific. Now I selected the VM size of 1 vCPU 1 GB for this particular server. I can now choose authentication type to SSH, right? So this will download our SSH key which we can use for username of Azure user. Okay, by default everything is given, so I prefer not to tamper this, right? So it will remain as default. I will just move on to another category, right? You can also set the password, but my preference is making use of SSH public key. So for your specific use you don't even have to type the password and get compromised, and whenever you want to change the public key you can always do that, right? So go for next tab, which is disks. Now here we pick the disk as standard HDD, right? Then we can delete the VM when the disk deletion will follow that, right? Now let's go to new tab for networking, where it will create the virtual network for us. Subnet, public IP, everything will be created and shown here with defaults. You can also keep the NSG to default. Then you can delete the public IP and NIC when VM is deleted, right? Now let's take a look at this load balancing part. So this is test machine, so there is no need for choosing the load balancing. In your case, if you are doing this for business or so, can enable this. Now move to management tab. You can pick between identity and Azure Active Directory, where you can see Azure Active Directory is grayed out because for Linux machine and some of the application based images this is not applicable. Here you can see auto shutdown, we are not going to enable that either. Then comes case2s update, which I have set to image default because that's the only option available. Now move to monitoring part, where you can see you have this option to check the alerts. So I'm keeping this unchecked. There is boot diagnostic, where you can see enable with manage storage account. You can pick that, then move to advanced tab. Now here I can add the extension application. If I want something preloaded, then I will keep the rest of the things default. Move to tags tab, right? I'm not going to sort anything or categorize resource, so I will not add any tags. Now let's move to review and create, where validation test will happen. This test means if everything is in order. It will also show you two things, one being your price and one how much you will be charged per hour by Microsoft for creating this VM. So they are kind of like pretty much greedy about setting up this VM because they offer the Redis service on their own and they charge over there as well. So I don't see the reason for doing this DevNami's server setup. There is also one more way. You can go inside your Linux VM and install Redis. That option is there. However, a lot of people prefer pre-made stack, so they have to pay the price. Right now, if everything checks out and validation is passed, we can click create. Now this will trigger SSH key download option, so we can download that. So that will be .pem file. You can see that Redis dev pm. Now we will wait for this to trigger the deployment. So once it goes for deployment, it will take a minute or two. So we will take pause for that, and then we can return to creation of our private and public keys separation for parties SSH login option. So let this deploy. Okay, now the deployment is done. I can go to the resource and I can check one important thing, which is public IP, right? So here, as you can see, Linux Debian is installed, public IP is here. I can copy that. Now what I will do is I will just open Explorer, go to this particular file. I can paste near my putty and putty generator, right? So here I will paste it within putty generator. I can go to convergence and then click import key. So .pem file will be taken as import option. Now here I will be using this particular redis.ppk. I can also save redis.pub as public file. Now we will go to putty.exe where there are previous session. I can delete that and give my current session Redis name. Now it will require public IP address, so we give that to host. Then within SSH I can use auth credentials where I can point to that ppk file. Now going back to the session, I can save this and click on open, which should basically create an alert that you are creating connection. Accept that. Now type in the username, which in this case would be Azure user, and here we are connected. Notice that it has given your host a particular name, right? You may also have to check your Redis CLI if it's functional. However, do note that if you're trying to access it outside this SSH session, make sure to set it up according to DevNami's documentation. So in your case that could be different, so trying to find out what needs to be done for your server, right? So we can verify whether we have Redis. So we will just type in redis -cli and there we go. We can type in ping and hit enter. Notice that the authentication is required because it needs to be deployed on 0.0.01637 port. So currently it will be throwing that sort of error. We can just at the most verify our Redis version. So we can go for Redis CLI -- version or Redis -CLI version, right? So I don't know the help file for that. Redis -CLI help. Okay, it seems like it's not your typical flags it is accepting, so you can go through that and maybe you can do better than me in that case. So let's exit and let's find out another method for us to connect to this VM, which is Bastion. So you can use settings connect option or connect and then click Bastion. So here Bastion gives another option to connect to your Redis server. However, it just opens up in browser. So instead of using party generator, you can use Bastion as option. So best option would be to let it execute your Bastion and give you control to authentication. Now here let's add Azure user as username and then give it SSH file, which is .pem file. As you can see, Bastion is created and I can now connect to it. Now here you can see how the browser is being used as an interface to DevNami's Redis instance. So do go through that particular DevNami documentation for setting up Redis. You can easily verify your Redis key, right? Simply use exit to come out of this as well. Once you do, you can see the option to reconnect or close, and that will close the browser window as well. So we managed to install Redis through Azure virtual machine.